Good morning, Chair Postman, Members Garrett and Vollendorf, staff and guests. The lobbies are open. Recording has begun.
Thanks, Justin. We'll convene the board caucus meeting for Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. Got a big agenda today. We'll jump right in. Something I'm particularly interested in, which is a briefing from Captain Jennifer Zube about what we've done since we got that THC bill passed, which was try to get that unregulated stuff out of the stores. So, Thomas here.
Okay, thank you.
How's that going?
Do we have the PowerPoint?
There's a lag when I'm clicking on the stuff before it gets there. Give me just 1 second.
No problem. All right, I'm here to talk about the impact. So I just thought we'd start off with the training that we've given the officers. So the bill changed the definition of cannabis products for detectable any amounts of THC. So some of the things that we've done. So back in 2015, we already had the CHAVA bill, which is the Cannabis Health and Beauty Aids. And so we kind of already were there, but Liquor Board was never assigned to do anything with that. So it was just kind of sitting out there. So we were already a little prepared for that. And then we had the Delta 8 showing up. And so in 2021, we received some training from our research department and our training department. So we had some training on that to know what to look for and the impacts of that. And then our director, Chandra Brady at the time, I think,
Yes.
put out a notice about the synthetic THC and the Delta 8. So we learned from that. In that memo, it went out to the industry, but in that memo, it told what enforcement activities we were going to do, communicate, take product, and if it's intentional, then we would take some enforcement action.
That was prior to the bill passing, right?
Correct.
We're still a year. Okay.
Correct. We are a year, but all of this leads up to where we were already on a roll. So
Yeah.
that's why
Okay.
I kind of
Great.
wanted to
Good.
include that
Yeah,
stuff.
no, that's good to know.
Since the bill, we do, and I oversee the tobacco and vapor unit. And so we go out and do trainings to the other regions because this stuff is also in the liquor retail, not just in the tobacco stores. And so we do training out there for questions. We bring samples. They do a lot to help us. So it is a joint effort for both of us. And then we have participated in the rules committee. We asked to be part of that. It's primarily cannabis rules as U 3-1455, but we're part of that so that we can, help our team and so that, it's always about the why and stuff. So. And then we go to education to the licensees. And so we have an approval process. And the first thing you see under the application approval, we give them a bunch of information when they first get licensed. And the first 3 really doesn't pertain to the bill, but I just thought, oh, that's an interesting, just a quick fact sheet, 1 page. But you go down to bullet 4 and 5. Again, we go back to the bulletin that Director Wax sent out. Telling them around the Delta 8, how illegal that is. And then we have discontinue and sell products that we give them. And it's a guideline of what, it's really kind of nice because it talks about bath salts. It talks about, which, isn't part of the bills, but it talks about all the illegal things that you can't have, including detectable THC. It's written in there. We do have FAQs on our webpage that they can look at if they're going through that. When we go to a retail location, if we discover a THC product, they're getting those first, the bulletin and the discontinued product. So they're receiving that information again, just in case they weren't a new licensee. And so we're educating at that point again. We've provided 98 hours of education. Not all of that is just about the bill, but it pertains to that. So when we have new licensee education or we're talking about annual inspections, this is stuff we're repeating to them. We also talk about the MSA stuff, taxes and things. But so they do receive education even as we continue through the days, through the premise checks that we visit. All right, trends. So some of the things that you'll see, and this is quoted because this is actually coming from the packaging. And so you'll see the 0.3 THC, less than 0.3, 0.3. You'll see they start saying, do not drive heavy machinery while taking CBD. Yeah, right. And then we get down to that bottom one. I underlined it because that's where a lot of our work will begin. So we cannot guarantee the use of this product will result in passing a drug test. So they've taken, not everybody, but they'll take off the 0.3 THC, the percentage. So now we're like, oh gosh, what is this product? So if we see the 0.3, less than 0.3, we will take that product. That is now immediate seizure because you can't have it. It's now detectable. You've identified that. So the not guaranteed, now we go into some of the things we do to test. So, just to add to the trends there, you see 100% legal cannabis up there. I circled on the bottom. On your right, where it's yellow highlighted, I've got a product contains less than 3%. If you see the packaging, that's the same product. But on the other side, it just talks about won't pass a drug test. So this is how they're switching things up.
This is from something you found actually in Washington State.
Those are, that's in Washington.
100% legal cannabis.
Yep.
Okay.
So when we see again, going back to when we see the, where there's no THC on we can go to their website, which is the next page. You were ahead, you were good. We can pull up the certificate of analysis. So, and they puts in there. So if they've tested it here, you can't see it real clearly, but on the right-hand side up top, it will say 0.289, I think, percent THC. So now that's an automatic seizure because again, that is detectable and you can't have detectable product. So if we can't find the certificate of the COA, then we move to the next one, which is we have these NIC kits, and it's narcotics identification kits. And so we can test on the spot. The unfortunate thing about this is it will only test over 1% of THC. So we go down, so non-detect, that doesn't even cover our 0.3%. So it doesn't always work, but it will help to say, oh, I can take that one, but it doesn't immediately.
And it's pretty high. If it's showing here, then that's got a lot of THC.
At 1%, So, so then what we might do is we'll purchase the product and then we bring it back to, we have light labs. These are expensive machines. We've got, I think there's 5 of them in the state. They're throughout the state. So we can come back and test it. This takes probably about 15, 20 minutes to test this. And with edibles, it will say you've got THC. It's the second one from the bottom there on the chart. It will show detectable. So that means this product was stoned gummies. So the name itself probably indicated that there was product there. So we would go back and seize the rest of the product. With flour, it will give us a percentage of what's in there, but not with the edibles. It will just tell, I'm sorry, with the gummies or some edibles, it will just tell us whether it's in there or not. So this is.
Oh, Jim, you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Jennifer, the machines you mentioned, there's 5 in the state. Do those belong to us, or are those who owns those machines?
Yeah, I believe that we purchased those. The enforcement division did purchase.
Okay.
Well, you guys purchased them for us.
Okay, but they are ours. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Merry Christmas, yeah. So, and these are pretty accurate. So if the last step really is if we actually are seizing or if it's a criminal site, we will send the product to WSP's lab just for, for court cases and stuff. So, but for the most part, this is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
The actions we've had, so this started July of 2023. We've had, so just getting started, we had 11 locations. We seized about 880 items. As I stated earlier, the director's bulletin included what we're going to do. Most of it's warnings until we find intentional. So we've been issuing verbal and written warnings. The numbers have started. We've done calendar years, so we're just 7 months into it. We've had 43 locations. We've checked about 381 locations for this, so the numbers, I didn't do the percentage, but that does not include compliance checks. But we are issuing verbals and writtens. Fun fact, our director, LaKella, was at one of those seizures when he did a ride-along. So still waiting for that report. I don't think I'm gonna get it. And we did have a criminal citation, which I'll talk about at the end.
Okay. Wow, so almost 1,500 so far this calendar year.
This calendar year, yes.
Individual products seized.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Up through August.
This is Ollie. So when you say it was mostly warning, unless you find it intentional, what is your definition of finding it intentional?
So I think it's the next slide.
Okay.
Sure. Oh, no, but this was just a picture of the items that we've been seizing, just so you can get what the different things look like. So we issued a search warrant. So this was in February, we got a complaint on a licensee that was selling the Delta 9 hemp products. And so we went there and we seized it and we educated. Well, come July, we get another complaint, they're still doing this. And so we did an undercover buy where it wasn't out in the open. So they went in to ask and they had to go in the back to get it. So it's not where we would normally see it unless we're looking at product in the back. So that's intentional. And so in October, we did serve a search warrant to gather a lot of the product. We did find freezers and refrigerators in the back, which we weren't included in the warrant. So we came back with a secondary warrant. You can see, nope, I didn't put in there. It was October 20th is when we did the first warrant and November 2nd when we did the second. So we didn't go back right away and they didn't get rid of the product. The cannabis stuff was still in the freezer or the fridge. So, the link, which wasn't included in your guys' email original, is our announcement to the public that we did that. So I thought, oh, fun, I'll just put that in there. So then that's warranted, and there was your criminal citation that we issued. So that was intentional. You were educated, but you continued and you hit it in the back. So that's intentional.
So are we saying initially they are not aware that they have the product?
They're aware. I think after a year, they should know that, this is illegal, but we have been providing quite a bit of education when we're doing these. So maybe that's the conversation to start having. The unfortunate thing is it's a criminal citation. We can close the business. It's suspension or revocation of their license. There's nothing in WAC that kind of gives us direction. So that's something that we should work on. But when you're talking about criminal, it's hard to prove because you're buying it from the clerk. And so you have to prove that the licensee knew about it, and so it's just the workaround to get there.
And in that one, you took an undercover buy and a warrant.
Yep.
I mean, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah. And just a reminder, especially because King County, this incident did happen in King County. The prosecution for, THC products when it's kind of legal already out there is kind of difficult to get, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. Criminal may not be the best tool we
Correct.
have.
But we do have revocation. Yep.
And the licenses. Yeah. And, to what Member Garrett was asking about. So I'm imagining if I own one of those stores, you're getting this from like a salesman who comes into your store and says, hey, I've got this new product.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do is educate the licensee enough. So when someone comes in and says, oh, it's legal, they can say, I don't believe so.
Correct. And we do visit our distributors not everybody off the streets is a licensed distributor, but we do talk to our licensed distributors on that.
Okay.
So that they're educated as well.
Yeah. Do we, as part of that education, does the licensee get a contact if they want to call and ask? Like, hey, I just got this thing. They tell me it's legal. Can they call you and find out?
Yes. So one, it is on our website, but they know who their officers are about now. Yeah. And then, of course, when they get the letter, it comes from our tobacco enforcement. So they can email that back if they have questions. Yeah. So there's options for them to do it if they.
Good.
want to take that extra step.
I'm really glad to see how much activity there is. And, you know, we noticed, we talked to a researcher from outside our state, but who looked at all 50 states, the availability of this stuff, and said that Alaska and Washington State were the only places where they couldn't easily find it.
Oh,
calling
I'm glad to
around.
hear
And so,
that.
you know,
Oh.
they're calling stores, and they called in Washington. They said, "Oh, we can't sell that stuff."
Yeah.
So either they're smart enough to say
Okay.
that, or
I like it.
or they actually are. And I think it really, you know, if we've already seized this year more than, or almost 1,500, that's something.
Yeah.
And I really think this proliferation of this hemp direct THC is biggest threat to the legal system.
Yeah.
And part of the other problem, which I don't think we really have a lever for, is the mail order piece.
Yes, yes, I saw that.
You know,
I saw that too.
It's-
I forgot to mention as I was doing the research for this, Tricom had closed at the location that did the search warrant. They did pull their license before we did. And believe it or not, I just saw that they're still selling CBD, so.
Oh.
I might have to go take a
I'll
look
go
at that.
check that out, yeah.
So.
Justin?
Yeah, just curious on the locations. Are you finding more, you may not know this off the top of your head, but are you finding more in tobacco shops or in liquor license businesses, or is it a combination?
So a lot of the numbers we ran are tobacco stores. So they are finding some in the liquor stores, but I don't believe it's as much as the tobacco stores. But I did try to find the information on that, and there's very little in the liquor stores. But they are helping. When we go out to train them, it's funny, you'll see the spike in the liquor stores, or liquor retailers, and then it slows down a little bit.
Yeah, I may need to follow up. We're doing a presentation to legislature in a couple of weeks, and this will be part of the topic. So
Okay.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Awesome.
I think it's great. And if there's more, you know, we'll buy you more machines or whatever, but I just think we need to keep on these guys. It's so obvious. And then when you show packages where they're saying 100% legal, and
Right.
you know it's not,
Right.
and they're not pretending, it's, you know, so yeah, thanks for the good work. And
Thank you.
yeah, let us know if we can do more to help. Thanks, Captain.
Great job.
Okay, we will now move to policy and rules team updates and prep for tomorrow's board meeting. And Cassie West is with us today in person. Hello.
Hello, Chair Postman. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome. I will just let you take us through the list of things and hand off to your colleagues
All right.
that are appropriate.
We're just, we have a lot going on,
Yes,
so.
we do.
Give
Tomorrow's a big day.
me just a second. I'm gonna put in my password here.
We have three public hearings tomorrow, everybody, so.
I have the longest password I have.
That's good.
Okay. Good morning, Member Garrett and Member Vollendroff. So I'll start with the cannabis waste. We had a really productive stakeholder engagement session on September 4th. And I've got to say that the feedback was incredibly valuable. So based on what we heard, we're going to be extending the CR 102 deadline to the October, one of those meetings. We expect, of course, this will depend on additional stakeholder engagement that we'll be getting over the next couple of weeks. We've had a couple of emails trickle in. So we'll keep you updated on that. Let's see, we have next the minors on premises. So we'll have 2 engagements coming up on September 16th and September 19th. The invitation went out on Friday via Gov Delivery. And during those engagements, we're going to be discussing the conditions for allowing minors on non-retail premises. So we'll have 2 sessions and they'll cover the same topics. The first half will cover children and grandchildren of licensees. And then the second half will cover minors who are employees of a contractor working at the licensed premises. Okay, now moving on to lab accreditation, and that's 2151, House Bill 2151. We're going to extend the timeline here a little bit as well, just to make sure that we have time to get everything right. We're working very closely with WSDA, and now we have 1 chemist that we're working with at LCB, and so we just want to make sure that we're being mindful of the pace. So we'll be planning on holding stakeholder engagements for those in October. That means that the rule would be likely taking effect early 2025, which is not too far off our original timeline. That was set to go in December, at the very end of December. Okay, so for House Bill 2204, the emergency liquor permits, we have 2 engagement sessions also scheduled. One on September 3rd and I'm sorry, September 30th, and the other on October 3rd. We'll be sending invitations out via cup delivery for those Monday. And we're really looking forward to hearing from stakeholders. And then finally, we do have a legislative report that Jeff's been working on regarding potentially discriminatory or biased language. So that's due September 30th, and deadline's coming up quick. And then before I wrap up, I just want to go over a couple of important dates coming up. So on the 25th, I will be presenting 3 or 4, I believe, petitions on social equity license mobility for title certificate holders. And I will note that yesterday we received several comments via email on the title certificate holder piece for the draft rules. So going through those this morning. Then we'll have also on the 25th, like you said, the CR 103 filings for social equity, THC bill, and cannabis payment flexibility. And then I'll just go to the 10-9 board meeting and we'll stop there. So we'll have the CR 101 for the ESOP, and Daniel will be working on that. We'll also have the CR 102 for minors on premises and the CR 103 for cannabis sampling. You know what, while we're at it, I only have 2 coming up on the 23rd, the CR 102 for sales of cannabis waste. That's what we're trying to give ourselves a little bit more room, maybe than we need, hopefully. And then we'll have the CR 102 also on those emergency liquor permits. And I will say, I am just so proud of our team's progress on all of this stuff. So thank you.
Hopefully
Do you have any questions?
Past and the end of the year will be the loser. I got a question about the waste work. Have we considered, or is it even possible, like envisioned, is there a way that this waste at the end could be reused in the 502 system? Is it going to be in this waste in condition that someone could reprocess it or extract oil from it?
I would say we'd have to look into that and get back to you, but I would say most likely not, because we're taking what would be classified as waste already, which is
inert.
Yeah, which is just, well, the bill is allowing the non-inert type of sales, but it's still waste, and so it shouldn't have the value to be able to extract it further or anything like that. So if there's that much left in there, that would most likely be problematic. So we'll look into that, and we'll try to have that answer when we do the next presentation, but I would imagine not.
Thank you.
I agree. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions at this point for Celeste? No. Okay.
Okay. Transportation.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
All right, well, good morning again. I will preview the petition response that I'll be recommending that the board accept at tomorrow's board meeting. The petition was submitted in July by Edward, I am going to butcher this, Castaneda Zarate, representing Dos Transportation, requesting amendments to WAC 314-55-310 to allow cannabis transportation licenses the ability to engage in cross-docking at their own fulfillment hubs. The current rules, cannabis and cannabis products must be delivered within 48 hours of pickup, and temporary storage at any facility is not allowed. The petitioner argues that this restriction creates inefficiencies and safety risks, particularly due to the long driving hours, as well as adverse weather conditions that drivers could sometimes face. So the board does have very broad rulemaking authority to adopt rules regarding transportation under RCW 69-342 and 345. So we considered, as you know, several factors to develop our recommendation, including economic and equity considerations, health and safety, security, So at tomorrow's meeting, I'll provide a detailed summary of our analysis, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Cassie, this is
Yeah.
Ali. And if Justin there, he might can answer this, but haven't we addressed this in the past, a few years ago? Didn't we do something in this area? Because
I
I've heard
believe-
this before.
Yeah, there's been discussions in the past, but we haven't been responding to any formal petitions. So I know that there's been ongoing concerns over the last several years, and I think this is kind of the next step that people feel that they would like the board to consider. So we did make some changes a number of years ago on
Right.
trying to make a reasonable application of law versus changing the rules to that. But this would be more formalized.
Okay. Alrighty, thanks.
I believe it's my team's turn.
Yes. Next up is Daniel Jacobs to brief us on the 1453. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Postman, members Garrett and Vollendroff. This morning, I'm going to preview the CR 103 that I'm going to be requesting approval of during tomorrow's board meeting on implementing Substitute House Bill 1453 on the medical cannabis patient excise tax exemption. During the public hearing held August 28th, we had one person testify, and we've actually made changes to the draft rule language based on that suggestion regarding reaffirming the confidentiality of patient information. Assuming that this gets approved during tomorrow's very busy board meeting, the rule language will be filed tomorrow and effective October 12th. I'm going to skip explaining what 1453 is just for today because I'm going to explain it again tomorrow. I think unless you want me to go over it again afterwards, but
I think we're familiar.
yeah. So, and LCB's issued a variety of guidance on the topic. We held 2 stakeholder engagement sessions early June, incorporated some of that feedback. We've amended 3 separate rule sections to address the new excise tax exemption, including 314-55-083 on traceability, 314-55-087 on record keeping in general, and 314-55-089 on tax reporting. They've all been changed to address the new requirements and to reference the new rule with dedicated solely to this new tax exemption, which is at 314-55-090. The language in 314-55-090 repeats the requirements of 1453, and it as well as requiring retailers to keep records for every sale where they're exempting the excise tax of the following: the date of the sale, certain information from the patient recognition card, including the unique patient identifier and the effective and expiration dates, information about what product is sold, which is having the excise tax exempted, and the sales price. And it's that certain information that retailers are required to record that is sort of the impetus for the testimony and also our clarifying language. Now, to be clear, the unique patient identifier and the expiration and effective dates, according to our conversations with the Department of Health, are not considered to be private patient information. However, we are adding language to the rule to reaffirm that according to DOH's statute on the Medical Cannabis Authorization Database, which can be found at RCW 6951A230, that all patient information that's identified in that statute is confidential. And so we received feedback wanting to reaffirm that, and so we added that into the rule. I'll go into more detail tomorrow when requesting approval of the CR 103, but otherwise I'm happy to answer any questions.
And that reaffirmation there is not considered a substantive change from 102, right?
No, it's not. I mean, frankly,
Yeah.
we're just reaffirming that the statute says that certain information is confidential and exempt from public disclosure. And whether or not we said that in the rule, the statute still exists. And so that information is still going to be confidential and exempt from public disclosure, whether or not we mention it in the rule, which had actually, personally, I wasn't I personally had some reservations about adding it because I was like, well, the statute exists and it exempts from public disclosure regardless of whether we say it or not. But we figured, you know what? We're already talking about some patient information, so let's just reaffirm and make clear that
Yes.
some of that information still remains confidential per DOH's statute.
I'm glad we made that addition. I think it helps. If it helps anybody feel more confident in what already was underlying, that's great. So appreciate that effort.
Yeah, of course. And, it also reaffirms our dedication to, preserving and maintaining medical patient confidentiality for their, private information.
Right. Yep. Okay. Anything else on that one? No. Okay.
No, nothing for me.
I think you're up again, next on cannabis payment flexibility here tomorrow. First.
Yes. Yes, I'll jump right into that. So good morning again. Tomorrow, one of the 3 public hearings is going to be on cannabis payment flexibility. Assuming there's no testimony during tomorrow's hearing that causes us to substantially change the proposed language, the final rules will be filed September 25th and effective October 26th. The project is amending WAC 314-55-115 on what methods that cannabis licensees can use to purchase cannabis from other licensees. And this is the direct result of a petition that the board accepted in March 2023. The CR 101 was filed May 8th, and a survey with draft rule language was posted on the LCB website from June 3rd through July 8th. The survey results indicate that licensees are overall supportive of the rule changes. And when the CR 102 was filed on July 31st, the survey results were attached to that CR 102 as, an attachment. And so those are publicly available on our rules webpage. Since July 31st, and I believe as of today, as of the last time I checked the rules inbox, we've received no public comment on the proposed rule language. So WAC 314-55-115 identifies checks, prepaid accounts, debit or credit card, electronic fund transfer, and money transmitter as methods that licensees can use to purchase cannabis from other licensees. The proposed rule changes clarifies that just as with the other payment methods, the purchase order has to be done by an irrevocable invoice. Both parties have to keep records consistent with other LCB requirements, and that the check has to be mailed no later than the next business day after cannabis delivery. And that check has to be deposited no more than 5 business days post-cannabis delivery. We only received one comment on the CR 101 that was asking about issues related to NSF or insufficient fund checks. And 314-55-115 already addresses NSF checks in Section 6, saying that basically if an NSF issue is reported, it has to be corrected by 3 p.m. the next business day, or it becomes an impermissible extension of credit. And so any issues with NSF checks are already addressed through existing rule language. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Don't see any on this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow on that. And then back to Cassidy West, you got the next 2 hearings to talk about.
Okay, I'll begin with the THC bill, if that's okay. All right, I'm here to preview the public hearing scheduled for tomorrow, September 11th, regarding the implementation of the THC bill. Like Daniel, I will not go into what it did. We had a lovely presentation from Jennifer as well this morning. So the CR 102 was filed in July 2020. I'm sorry, it was actually filed in August, but the board approved it in July. The proposed rule key changes include those related to serving size limits, definitions, transaction limits, quality assurance and quality control testing, and packaging and labeling standards. We held extensive stakeholder engagement to inform the development of the rules, including collaborative rulemaking discussions, surveys, and virtual workshops. These were held between December and May, so lots of stakeholder engagement. So if no significant changes are identified at tomorrow's hearing, we'll move forward with bringing the 103 to the board on September 25th.
What sort of stakeholder feedback have you gotten so far?
On the THC bill.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of questions, actually more questions than comments, and about Chaba products, and really a lot from hemp folks. So I guess it's a good thing we're not hearing from cannabis people. So
I mean, it's rules for on the cannabis side, but we're obviously trying to get at the.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'll move forward with social equity. not going to go over the background on that one. We're all familiar. So the CR 102 on this was filed in August, same day as the THC bill, and the proposed rule 55570. And everyone knows those include, we have definitions, the scoring rubrics adjusted, the county level thresholds. So we held stakeholder engagement this spring. And so tomorrow, if no substantial changes arise from the public hearing, we will proceed with filing the 103 on the 25th. And that is all. Thank you.
Not to ask for a prediction necessarily, but based on the feedback we have seen on that, what's your sense? Are we gonna get people or are there a lot of people still unhappy with
Well, I will
current
mention
state?
that but most of the comments we've received have to do with the licensed mobility piece for title certificate holders. And I forgot to mention, we received 5 or 6 comments at least. No, I did mention it in the email. Yeah, and so those are all exactly related to the same thing. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Great. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
I got a question. It's gonna do a ledge. Weren't you guys gonna do a ledge thing today? Yeah, it's not on the agenda. Yeah, I'll add it. It won't take long. Come on up, guys. Or guy, yeah. Legislative Director Mark Webster, I'm going to add a quick thing on the agenda here, which we just forgot to put here, which is to go over the proposed legislation that we're thinking of putting forward as an agency. Sorry about the oversight there. Go ahead.
No problem. So good morning, Chair Postman and members, Garrett and Bollendroff. As the chair said, today I'd like to present 2 potential agency request legislation bills for your consideration. And your approval today keeps them moving to the next stage, which at this point is submittal to the governor for his review. But you retain the ability to withdraw that support, get additional input, et cetera. So this is not a final decision in the sense that we are committed to finding a sponsor and dropping the bill, but it does let us know what you'd like to move forward in the process.
I gotta start with that. We can't take that action today. We can tomorrow. So we'll hear from you today, and then tomorrow we just need to ask the question, get a consensus from the board to do that. Sorry,
yeah, very good. So as with 2024, you don't see sweeping or contentious policy changes here. The packages here are more about shoring up agency capacity and clarifying existing law. So you may ask, what about some of the potential policy changes that we've all talked about in other fora? And I'm going to come to that later. But for now, I'm just going to jump into the 2 draft agency request bills. The first comes from the licensing division and essentially has 2 related but distinct parts. First, clarifying when and where mask permits, so the mandatory alcohol server training, are required. Current law ties these requirements to certain license types. And while they list many kind of on-premise types from restaurants and bars and things like that, it's not an exhaustive list. So does that mean that we don't want servers to have mask permits in unlisted license types? And do we need all employees of listed license types to have one? I think the short answer is no. And we can make everything a whole lot simpler by stating clearly that if you were directly serving customers alcohol in your establishment, if the customer is sitting in your place, then you need a mask permit. It's about what you're doing, not about the kind of license that you hold. And then separately, we are clarifying statute by removing obsolete or unused permits and licenses. The public house license was essentially made redundant by the microbrewery license, and now no one holds a public house license, so we're removing that. The same goes for a special permit for military installations to purchase liquor from the board. Obviously, that became obsolete with privatization. We don't need that, so it can go. Now, I think anytime you extend or even appear to extend mask requirements to people who may or may not have had that requirement, we could get some licensees upset or see it as like an unfunded liability or as a burden. I think from the staff perspective, the gains in public safety and frankly just clarity outweigh those potential costs, but I think we should be aware of them. And so we're trying to to run down exactly which license types we could hear from down the road.
And have you gotten stakeholder feedback on that idea? What have you heard so far?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been open for a long time.
Right.
It's been crickets
Okay.
on that one.
Yeah, I think we have, the deadline is this week.
Okay.
We haven't heard any comments yet on it.
Okay. Good.
That doesn't mean it won't come in the end.
No, yeah.
But for now. So second, we have an information sharing bill related to last session's medical cannabis excise tax exemption, and this is going to dovetail with what Mr. Jacobs was just presenting. The bill simply mirrors the existing allowance for the Department of Health to share information with the Department of Revenue to verify that the sales tax exemption is being applied correctly to the new excise tax exemption. So there's an existing phrase in that same section of law that Daniel mentioned, 6951A230, that says that DOH can share information to DOR for the purpose of verifying the exemption. All we're doing is essentially copying that, adding a new line that says DOH can also share information with the LCB to verify the excise tax information. Now, the legislature has been interested in ensuring the bill is implemented as intended, that it incents patients to get on the DOH registry, and that processors have an incentive to make more DOH approved medical cannabis. I would say that these incentives can't work if the exemption is granted too broadly, right? If they're granted on recreational products, then the incentive structures that are designed to increase both the demand and supply don't quite work. So anytime you're dealing with sensitive information, I should say, you risk people seeing it as governmental overreach or an invasion of privacy. We have talked about this several times, but we're not interested in policing or tracking what people are buying. But I think we all, from patients, the legislators, and the board, have an interest in ensuring that those incentives that I mentioned actually work. And so for that to work, these incentives have to be narrowly targeted. And we should keep that as the overarching policy goal. But I just want to let everyone know that we probably will hear some folks who might misinterpret the intent of this bill. But I do hope that the confidentiality provisions in rule that Daniel just spoke to might help at the margin there too. And finally, we have discussed some things that do have more of a policy impact. The big one here we've had a lot of discussions about are the product placement changes or limitations on product placement for alcohol and those crossover products. And I think at this point, just to get it out there, I think we believe we have the authority to make some meaningful changes in rule, and believe that that's probably a better pathway than legislation right now.
Great.
Second, you may remember that last year we talked a lot about cannabis retail signage, and almost had an agency request bill, and then worked with an existing bill and with some of the associations on that. We might revisit that down the road, but my sense right now is that is not the highest priority of the board. And of course, that bill generated a lot of opposition from the public health community. I think a fact which contributed to it going down in the House.
Have you heard whether industry will be pushing it again?
I have not. I don't know. I have not heard about that at this point.
If it does, we'd have to address that.
Right.
We've changed our position, but.
Right, or if they take a different approach
Right.
to it, we'll cross that
We're
bridge.
open to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just finally, we had a request from finance to shield certain tax audits and related documents from disclosure. I think after some internal discussions, I don't know that it's quite ready, but it's something that we can continue to work on and bring to you for your deliberation, over the coming months. Probably not a this session thing, but down the road once we, talk with the AGs and others on that.
Good.
Any questions?
Any questions for Mark on ledge package? No. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
We still have two executive sessions we're going to do, but so let's now just see if there's anything more board member or executive assistants reports or anything of the sort. No? Okay. One executive session. Just announce them together, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh, we have to wait till 11.
We don't.
Okay, we're going to make small change on the agenda because we're so efficient today. And we're going to move the executive session up to 10:47. We have two subjects we're going to cover. We are going to discuss pending and or potential litigation. And then we will have a executive session to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a public employee. I think in total, we expect these will take 40 minutes. And so and we have no more business. So if you're hanging around to see what else happens, we're not going to take any other votes or any action today after these. But if we will come back, I will come back at the end of the executive sessions and adjourn the meeting. And with that, I'll just ask everybody to stand by so we can both electronically and physically go into executive session. And we're going to.
Just a couple seconds.
You know, I know. I was
Okay.
just talking. Understand? You can stay. You guys can stay if you want. If you have an 11, so if you want, that's fine. Yeah, I have And we are reconvening the board caucus meeting, and we've completed our executive session. We'll now adjourn, and we'll be back tomorrow morning for a board meeting at 10 o'clock. Thanks, everybody.